So one day you're talking with a coworker, making casual conversation when the topic strays to something political. Well, that makes you self-aware. You're based. You know your coworker is not. Nevertheless, you stand your ground. You talk about what you really think. In response to you, your coworker tells you, you must be one of those Fox News types of people. Well, that assertion strikes you as strange, because you have never watched Fox News. Regardless, the conversation ends. Your coworker's response was tribal and reactive. And deep down you realize, even if you had some great response lined up and ready to go, none of it would have mattered because you were dismissed out of hand. And as such, NPC behavior triumphs yet again. Even if you had collected every piece of relevant information available to you and came up with the perfect rebuttal in this situation, you know you're not offered any leeway in a conversation where the other party has turned their brain off. And it's all regardless as to whether you even watch the news or if you are informed about how all news is essentially propaganda. But my dismay at the current state of civil discourse is not directed at those prone to NPC behavior. In fact, NPC behavior is natural, and we all do it to one extent or another. Sometimes we ought to, such as when the Apostle Paul tells us that we ought to follow him as he follows Christ. Plus, without NPC behavior, we wouldn't be getting some of the funnier bleed-over effects like liberals going to bat for Palestine. Instead, my dismay is at false teachers and false prophets. Today, we perpetuate a cycle of fake enemies and fake allies alike, all bandwagoning culture war sentiments while not adhering to any axioms of their own. And that has widely been referred to as grift, or what I have lately been calling slop tube. Grifting the culture war has the propensity to increase the visibility of several channels on YouTube. Commentators who are particularly adept at talking about the issues while also utilizing the Dunning-Kruger effect. And in the end, the grift reveals itself from its want to perpetuate the conflict rather than seek any means of resolution to it. An example I pulled from the past was Az, or heel versus babyface, talking about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show from Disney's Star Wars.
This stuff that we just mentioned, this stuff about the Kenobi shit, those, I'm absolutely convinced, I'll have to go back to my video, but the examples they used happened before the show came out. So this was an already orchestrated attack that they knew they were going to do. This was a marketing ploy that they already were going to do as regards to, oh my gosh, she's black, she's getting attacked.
As is one such party among the Friday Night Tights crew who seems a bit more observant than others about the cultural zeitgeist. Regardless, the greater point to what Az was talking about here was in how media groups readily exploit this NPC behavior and have created an anti-woke consumer. And that anti-woke consumer is someone who readily acknowledges the slop he consumes, but doesn't seem to be concerned about how it affects him. In other words, someone might feel informed about media, they might rage against it as part of a performative response, yet they continue to partake in said media none the wiser. To the point there is an ongoing psyop, and that psyop is readily pushed by anti-woke slop tubers who only encourage apathy and insincerity. And more recently, I have seen this behavior perpetuated by the likes of EndymionTV, and here I will not even lay claim to having come up with the idea of covering him. All credit is due this YouTube user, Markara81, for helping solidify my own thoughts and feelings about this. And before I even get into a proper spiel, I also want to draw attention to some current events. The video that was shared to me by Markara81 was produced 3 weeks ago, and at that time Endymion was promoting G Fuel. As of last week, however, G Fuel has cut ties with Endymion, and that's noteworthy because G Fuel was also partnered with Disney Lucasfilm. And in the end, I don't know what to make of all that. Given there was a recent change in management at G Fuel, my theory is that Endymion was living on borrowed time, and that when new management came in and they did a review, they found him wanting. Why this is interesting to me is that regardless of whatever AI scripting and shilling that Endymion may be doing, that apparently was not enough to keep him in cahoots with G Fuel. So make of that what one wills. Now, a YouTube user named Sam Welcheck562 has a take on this, which I believe is the correct one. It could be as simple as a single woke infiltrator who personally dislikes Endymion, blatantly abusing their power over a minor partnership that no one above them will make a fuss over. Sloptubers are not exactly known for their well-defined and uncompromising standards of quality assurance. It could also be that he is simply not dedicated enough to the Disney nod-gobbing grind mindset to suit their majority shareholders. Again, same standards apply. The people who prioritize mainstream perceptions over their own lying eyes probably are not thinking long-term or with strong senses of loyalty and fairness. If the left eats their own, the center is certainly no stranger to making and breaking associations for petty reasons. The slightest threat to being called an ism is all the company needs to sever all ties with someone. If a turbo turf like J.K. Rowling isn't safe, G Fuel certainly isn't. It's funny how the public zeitgeist shifting away from the wokeists seems to inspire a lot of apolitical groups to suddenly become even more invested in passing woke purity tests. We all know how most conservatives are far more invested in purging their ranks of radical thinkers than organizing any meaningful opposition to the left. I can easily see companies like G Fuel becoming more afraid of the woke mob as the culture shifts, as opposed to less. It's the eternal paradox of the coward. The safer they are, the less they trust they will remain safe. Very good comment. Anyway, I will start off by saying that I am only peripherally aware of EndymionTV. I probably watched a total of 5 videos by him before I decided to move on. I realized why YouTube recommended him to me, but I saw enough to draw the conclusion that it was all incidental to how the algorithm works. On the surface, EndymionTV is fighting the power. His clickbait draws upon the ire against woke culture, utilizing all the regular words and phrases that resonate with tribal reactionaries. And that's the first thing I want to address here, the title of his videos. This is so blatantly obvious. All the words are association, ensuring that search engines latch onto it and deliver something to you, the viewer. Endymion is very obviously working the system. And like most content under this vein, his viewership won't dig much farther than the first few minutes of his video before leaving a comment that indicates a mind made up and a reaffirmation of what one already believes in. I know this because if one spends time listening to Endymion, and I mean really, actively listening to what he has to say, you would discover that he is not very based at all, and in fact, he's promoting the slop rather than pushing back against it. Once again, all credit for my analysis here is due Markara81. Markara81 provided me with various timestamps showcasing something referred to as an ad copy. For the sake of clarity, an ad copy is something an advertiser would say or print, all in order to advertise a product, and that bleeds into what is called corpo speak, and ultimately causes everything that Endymion says to come off as disingenuous. That is, if you are actually paying attention and not just rushing to the comments section to affirm your biases 30 seconds into the video. So let's imagine Endymion is reading this script from a teleprompter at the Game Awards, and you can see how obvious it is. I will play the ad copy bits together in sequence.
This then brings me to this big scoop, which is Star Wars Eclipse. And it's actually a big reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place. It's the next game from Quantic Dream. You know them, they made stuff like Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human. They're heavily invested in narrative-focused development and stories, and Star Wars Eclipse is their next game, as we all know. As I'm told, the game has about 7 to 10 playable characters in its story, with each of them having their own plot threads. I can't say specifics on the story, although from what I was told, I gotta be honest with you guys, Eclipse, it sounds pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the pitch that I was given and how it's structured, it actually sounded pretty awesome. Especially the newer things that they're adding to the Star Wars mythos. Unless they change what I was told, what I can say is that Quantic Dream is actually making a really cool Star Wars game here. Credit where it's due. Like I said, the story, from what I was told beyond this point, it honestly sounds pretty great. I think some of the stuff that Quantic is adding to Star Wars, based on what I was told, it will actually really excite fans.
Okay, so at this point, we are 6 minutes 15 seconds into the video. That's roughly a quarter of the video. And we started this ad copy section at the 4-minute mark because the initial few minutes of the video were just affirmation bias. It was a phase for low attention span morons who cannot be bothered to watch the entire thing. Endymion is working the algorithm here, like I said. Now, following this ad copy stuff, Endymion starts in the "How do you do, fellow gamer gators" portion of his video. And yeah, what can I say other than a lot of what Endymion talks about here is very non-specific, and it all sounds like it could very well have been generated by ChatGPT. Not saying that definitely is the case, of course, but either way, it was less than specific enough to make me think that it was just pandering to the anti-woke crowd.
Infested, unfortunately, by DEI agenda, Disney is very hell-bent on ensuring that Eclipse has tons of non-binary and diversity, Disney, like I said, would not allow Quantic Dream to have any heroic white representation. Everyone had to be diverse, have some sort of gender identity. Disney kept pushing for lots of gender identity. Disney would make demands to Quantic Dream to enforce things like non-gendered presentation. They wanted the galaxy, as I'm told, to be insanely diverse and just go buck wild when it comes to gender identity. Kathleen Kennedy wants to keep the people that she trusts happy with the direction of Disney, who obviously enforces this stuff. People like J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof, these various stakeholders in Disney demand gender identity nonsense. Kathleen Kennedy...
Now, hopefully some of you are picking up on what is going on here. For those who are a little slow, listen to Endymion's continual emphasis and repetition of non-specific words and phrases.
The agenda: Disney non-binary and diversity, Disney white representation, diverse gender identity, Disney gender identity, Disney non-gendered presentation, diverse gender identity. Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, people like J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof, Disney gender identity nonsense. Kathleen Kennedy...
At a certain point, you might not even realize you're not actually being informed of anything anymore. These are all mantras. These are all affirmations. It all works into your confirmation bias. What Endymion is doing is he's going to build this up into eventually going straight into another segment that's just advertising the game he's talking about. It's all meant to play with your emotions and stroke your tribal tendencies. Gender identity, bad. Diversity, bad. DEI, bad. Kathleen Kennedy, bad. J.J. Abrams, bad. And of course, Disney, bad. So do you even know why you hate these things anymore? Do you even know why they're bad?
They took our jobs! They took our jobs!
Now, something else you need to notice here is that EndymionTV is merging this ad copy stuff with his anti-woke rhetoric. And that's really where I'm seeing what Markara81 is seeing.
I guess I should also tell you that definitively, Eclipse takes place in the High Republic era as well. Of course, Disney told Quantic Dream they can't use Sith because they weren't in the High Republic. But the villain, as it was described to me, is very, very cool. I gotta admit it. I won't get into specifics, of course, because I promised that I wouldn't, but that thing you see in the pool at the end of the trailer with all the black goo and stuff, dude, the whole concept that they got going on there, it is awesome. I wouldn't dare spoil it though, because I think Star Wars fans are really gonna dig what they're doing there with that character. But I am told once people see how well it looks graphically and all of that and such, it will just blow people away.
So you see how he's simultaneously feeding into hype for next product, while also appeasing your anti-woke sentiments. Note, he very specifically praised the villain of this new product at least 2 times so far. Something which Markara81 suspects is something he was told to do, if the ad read angle is legitimate. And it is suspicious because advertisements do indeed repeat words and phrases so that things do stick in your memory, and the villain of this product will become the basis of a reveal trailer in the future.
But the villain, as it was described to me, is very, very cool. I gotta admit it. But that villain in Eclipse, cool stuff. Trust me, dude.
So yeah, it's all something to look forward to when you inevitably vote with your wallet and buy this product, you consumer f***. Now, between the 9.5 minute mark and 15 minutes, Endymion does more of this anonymous sources stuff. And it's all made to make you think that you're getting a scoop.
I spoke to these sources for almost 2 hours. As I was also told from this same source, I'm also told that as I'm told, and this really annoyed my sources, this then brings me to this big scoop. As I'm told, from what I was told, the pitch that I was given, unless they change what I was told, what I can tell you, I swore that I wouldn't say more, so I won't. From what I was told, based on what I was told, as I was told by sources, from what I was told, I wasn't told. From what I'm told, as I'm told. This frustrated my sources who said, as I'm told, the names that I were given, as it was described to me. I won't get into specifics, of course, because I promised that I wouldn't. I wouldn't dare spoil it though, as I'm told, and it specifically was stated to me, according to my sources, as I'm told, which I'm told, and that I was told was I'm told. I was also told if you're able to speak to them off the record, I was also told, according to my sources, I was told as I'm told is what I'm told. I was also told from these sources as I'm told. Now as I'm told, but I am told my sources also told me. I was also told as my sources told me. Anyway, from what I'm told, my sources told me as I'm told. My sources said as I was told based on my sources. I think that's enough for now, but this is what I was told.
Oh yeah, now you have the insider information, all because your favorite anti-woke E-Daddy told you so. And he would never lie to you, right? I mean, it's just like when Jeff from Smash JT tells you an anonymous source gave him a scoop.
An employee at BioWare reached out to me via DM on their official Twitter account, and I could confirm from that they were exactly who they claimed to be. He personally reached out to me after watching my videos, and he emphasized the importance of speaking out against what he referred to as the woke virus that's run amok in these offices.
That's totally legitimate, right? He would never lie to you, right, you parasocial retard?
The woke virus.
Another aspect to this that I picked up on was Endymion delivers hopium and copium to his audience.
And all we can really do is continue our efforts and keep companies accountable. Keep voting with wallets, keep yourself up to date, and remember, you have way more power than you think.
Just like Smash JT, the whole narrative about insider information. Well, you really want to know why they do this, guys, because it's supposed to make you think that there are people in the industry who have not abandoned you, the viewer, the player, whoever you are. Yeah, never fear. There are still people in the industry who are working to make things right. You just gotta hold out. Just keep on consuming your slop, Goy. Don't worry. Trust the plan.
Trust me when I tell you guys, there's a lot of really great game devs out there who I talk to that agree and believe in this cause. And they are happy that things are finally changing. We just have to stay steadfast and keep on course.
These completely anonymous people who you're told totally exist and say all the anti-woke words and phrases you like are totally going to ensure that the bad people get out of the business and the good people get in. It's all confirmation bias. Yeah, to recap, Markara81 has solidified exactly what I was feeling at first, but confirms all my suspicions about Endymion. Given what's happening with his G Fuel connections, however, I hesitate to call him an absolute Disney shill. The ad copy stuff is compelling, and it really does paint Endymion's video as being an open advertisement for a Disney product, all disguised as anti-woke slop tube. Endymion first informs you of the studio, he informs you over the gameplay, introduces the stakes, appeals to your emotion, and your identity as a fan. All this is very parasocial, and that angle is made particularly clear as he makes a value prediction to you like you're his friend, and he wouldn't want to disappoint you, right? And then he shows the technical aspects of the game, right before reminding you of why you would want to buy it, via hooks such as mentioning this Nemodian war and the cool villain. Ultimately, it's much easier to trick people than to convince them they have been tricked. When it comes to many of the bigger names on YouTube, they are people who have simply learned the tricks of the trade. They know how the algorithm works. They know what you're searching for. They know what words will stoke your endorphins, and they feed directly into that. But it's all hardly authentic, right? And if you're sitting there scratching your head wondering, why is this all happening? How are so many people falling for this? Well, maybe they're not falling for it. Maybe they know fully well they're being deceived and they simply don't care.
Isn't that odd now? Yet, after all, why not? Why shouldn't I keep it?
Now, this whole curtailing everything he says by precursoring that it has been anonymously sourced, people should also realize that in this manner, Endymion can say pretty much anything he wants to without being held accountable for it. That works in the same fashion as, say, Anita Sarkeesian or Kim Belair, citing anecdotal evidence for death threats. What this means is none of what Endymion says can be verified, but his viewers will believe it all the same because it affirms the ongoing tribal narrative. In addition, much of what Endymion says caters to an us and them mentality. Same with Jeff from Smash JT. And there you're simultaneously told that your enemies are insurmountable, but also your side is always winning.
They hate us, is what I'm told. And all we can really do is continue our efforts and keep companies accountable.
You're also given this fantasy where the holdouts in the industry have your back.
Trust me when I tell you guys, there's a lot of really great game devs out there who I talk to that agree and believe in this cause.
And you're also told to get hype for next product, even though Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, and all the other usual suspects hate you.
Don't expect much gameplay similar to Detroit even. The game is basically one long CGI movie with you choosing how things go down.
There's also this shifting of the goalposts that Endymion snuck into his commentary. Apparently he wants your anger specifically directed at a non-profit advocacy group.
And a lot of these companies, even Sweet Baby, are simply trying to appease GLAAD and their demands pretty much all of the time. So if anyone asks why is everything like this, it's probably because GLAAD told them to do it. They want to pull every lever, so to speak, to ensure this sort of stuff makes it into everything going forward. They don't want you to escape it at all.
My ears specifically perked up when he tried to say that Ubisoft was not at fault for the character design of Kay Vess, the female lead in Star Wars Outlaws. What I'm trying to say is this could all work in a controlled opposition narrative. Don't blame Ubisoft. Keep your eyes on the lightning rod. In fact, that all leads me to the only gold nugget within this video.
Did I mention that Disney doesn't finance these games at all? Because they don't.
And for anyone curious about that, you need to go investigate a company called NetEase.
But NetEase is clearly heavily invested in Quantic Dream. It's just a shame that NetEase has to appeal to Disney's demands or the project pretty much evaporates.
Here's the thing, even if gamers in the Western world stop voting with their wallets, will China care? I don't believe so. I think China will pay for it if we don't. You see, what will happen then is China does not get the same product that we do. They get something that has been essentially de-wokeified. So yeah, voting with your wallet solves nothing. You will eat the bugs, and you will be happy. And when these games fail in the US, you know what'll happen next? Well, chuds will be blamed for being racist, right? And then you get people like Endymion, like Critical Drinker, like EFAP, Friday Night Tights. They're gonna go out and pick up the pieces and make more videos. Damn, what a cycle. End of the day really makes you consider just how powerless you are, doesn't it? So in conclusion, I think Endymion is a shill. Maybe for Disney, maybe for China, maybe both. I don't know. I also think he reads from an AI-generated script. Although what percentage of that makes up the entirety of his content, I don't know that either. And finally, I think all of his content is made to bandwagon the current culture war sentiments, but it's all for the sake of personal profit. But of course, this is all my opinion. And my opinion doesn't matter.